And whenever you're ready, you could start.
So my topic is human-induced animal adaptation, and my name is Logan. So I want to start off with talking about what animal adaptation is. And it's a physical or behavioral feature of an animal that helps them better survive in their environment. And for example, according to urban evolution, how species adapt to survive in cities, you have the English peppered moth that changed from light-colored wings to dark-colored wings to help camouflage with with coal-infused trees because of the Industrial Revolution. And so many human activities can impact other animals, and it can even cause harm to these animals. And additionally, according to naturalhistory.edu, where I got the definition from of animal adaptation, they argue that it's a benefit, but it's not always a benefit because of human-induced animal adaptation. And so what are some of the reasons why humans impact animal adaptation? Some of the reasons are because humans are at the top of the food chain, so they have the most potential. Global warming is a very large-scale example of this because we have the most influence in global warming, meaning polar bears have less space allocated for them to actually hunt on land, which is their most effective place to hunt. Additionally, animals that used to live in the daytime are changing to nocturnal animals because they can avoid humans during that time, and it allows them to live in a safer environment. However, this hasn't seen in animal history since dinosaurs existed to avoid them, and it really emphasizes how large humans impact animals. Some lenses or perspectives to use in looking at this is from a zoologist perspective, what are the effects of these animal adaptations? A factory owner, what are the ways to mitigate human involvement in animal adaptation? For example, like reducing the amount of fuel and natural gases that they use. A member of Congress, what are the laws that can help prevent animal-induced or human-induced animal adaptation? The scientific lens, how do animals adapt to its environment? Environmental, how does the environmental change because of humans? Futuristic, what animal species can be predicted to change because of humans? And so, how can human impacts actually harm animal species? We talked earlier about the peppered moth and nocturnal animals, but the negatives is that peppered moths essentially have to live in cities because now they have darkened wings and there's only coal-infused trees in the cities. Additionally, there's nocturnal animals which don't have as much time to actually obtain their food supply. Polar bears have to resort to less efficient hunting due to less animals on land, so they have to either attack or hunt in the sea, or they have to wait on very small glaciers. And then deforestation increased predation onto prey. And these impacts are all because of humans on suboptimal animal adaptation. And then when looking at selective breeding, which is choosing two parents with particular characteristics to breed them together and produce offspring, this helps with economic production, but can also result in diseases, and additionally can result in lack of genetic variation. And then additionally, when looking at domestication, which is when animals adapt over time from a wild natural state to life in close association with humans, it gets rid of a lot of their defensive features, meaning they can't be released into the wild, and it makes it not as natural as they once could be. There are benefits to animal adaptation because of humans, which is included in scavenger animals because they can obtain food via human waste. There's domesticated animals which have a sense of security and protection because of humans. And then arboreal animals have a lot of access to defense because they have a lot of houses and like rooftops they can climb on. But are these benefits always optimal for animal adaptation? In short, not really, because nocturnal animals, the English peppered moth, and arboreal animals have to change their entire style and how they live, because nocturnal animals can only go during the night, and nights are shorter than the day, so they have less time allocated for them to actually hunt and everything. The English peppered moth has to stay in cities, and arboreal animals have to stay in cities because of deforestation. And evidence shows that too much adaptation can actually be suboptimal. When looking at sickle cell anemia, if you have two dominant traits, you can have a very deadly illness, but if you have one of these dominant traits, then it results in protection against malaria. And it proves that animals, or if there's a positive and negative effect of adaptation, the trait will continue because of its positive effect. And so some solutions for mitigating human-induced animal adaptation is helping climate change, reducing human interaction with animals, and addressing laws to limit selective breeding. So first off, helping climate change, according to NASA, Antarctica is losing ice mass melting at an average rate of about 150 billion tons per year, and Greenland is losing about 270 billion tons per year, adding to this rise in sea level. And this ways to help prevent this is by reducing food waste, as it's a large source of carbon emission, reducing deforestation because forests actually hide and keep in some of the carbon, substituting motorized vehicles for non-motorized vehicles, so your traditional car versus your traditional bike. And then additionally, converting to solar energy would also limit the amount of natural gases that are used. And so these are two graphs showing the impacts of deforestation. On the left, you have all of these years above 5,000 square kilometers deforested in the Amazon rainforest. And then you also have the average forest by decade. So over 1990 to 2000, the average is 7.8 million hectares. And it really shows the impacts of deforestation that could be prevented. Reducing human interaction with wild animals. It's the main way that animals become domesticated and they lose many natural abilities their predecessors have. So for example, if you look at the picture here, you have a very defensive animal who turned into cattle because of domestication. And this also increases disease transmission, and reducing this would allow wild animals to stay in their natural environment and thus help reduce human-induced animal adaptation. Additionally, having laws to limit selective breeding. Right now, we have the Animal Welfare Act. Animals are required to receive any minimum standards of care and treatment provided for commercially sold animals, but there's no clear laws addressing the prohibition of selective breeding. So a proposed change could be addressing that you need a license and a zoology degree for selective breeding practices, and would help reduce genetic dysfunction. And this would also harm industries that profit from selectively breeding, which is inherently unethical. Some implications of this is that animals will evolve naturally rather than because of humans. The food chain will not become altered due to humans. Animals will be able to remain in their natural habitat. Animals' extinction rates will decline due to not having to rapidly adapt. Selective breeding will be reduced and decrease for-profit animal organizations. And then animals won't have to be in the city because now they'll actually be able to resort to their natural habitat. Some limitations is that the lack of deforestation reduces the amount of space that humans are allocated. They also, measures to reduce climate change limit efficiency. So for example, if you're using less fossil fuels, you're not going to have as efficient of a civilization. And it's additionally hard to have legislation for these climate change measures. And overpopulation of species may occur because they'll be the dominant in a region. And then the lack of interaction with animals may decrease the amount of food that is available.
Okay. All right, so I have two questions for you. What information did you need that you were not able to find or locate? How did you go about trying to find that information?
So I was looking up statistics for this project, and I could not find any statistics about like the predicted changes of global warming, like any like set in stone stats of like how much the temperature is increasing each year. And to go about this, in my solution slide where I had those two graphs, I implemented those to show the impacts of global warming and deforestation, rather than talking directly about the temperature increase.
Okay. And then what additional questions emerged from your research? Why are these questions important?
Definitely, I was, from my research, a lot of questions in terms of the solution occurred. Because a lot of the solutions require a very large-scale impact from everyone in society, rather than just an individual helping. And it really made me wonder what types of legislation could go through to actually help climate change. As I mentioned in the limitation, there isn't any, like, it's hard to actually establish a clear law that actually prevents too much measures that influence climate change.
Okay. Thank you very much. That was painless, right?